with Nigerians tonight. Where are these people being for? Where is the funding of these guys coming from? Are these politically funded? Because people being killed, and where are these weapons? They say some of them are herders. They say some of them are this and that. Where do they have the capacity to buy this weaponry? And they are inflicting pain on innocent Nigerians every day. Can we just destroy with Nigerians? Let's know where the problems are. Who are those funding these terrorists?
You see, Sean, as you are frustrated, I am also frustrated. I have been researching this issue for the past 15 years or so, and I am sick and tired of discussing one issue time and time again, and the government doesn't seem to be acting.
He's from Taraba State. And so his own people too have felt the brunt of attacks, numerous of them in that region. So you see that the northwest region embattled, the northeast region, especially your home state of Borno, is now seeing some kind of resurgence of this insurgency, and the governor has been speaking about it. We've seen what is happening in Plateau and Benue State. Is self-defense the best way to start from?
To start with, there is indeed a troubling escalation in violence and terrorism and criminality across Nigeria. As you said in your introduction, the Boko Haram crisis is still raging on, and unfortunately over the past 3 to 4 months we have seen a resurgence of Boko Haram attacks, especially in Borno State, where we saw 397 different attacks in the first 3 months of this year just in Borno State, in which over 500 people were killed. Actually 514 people were killed and around 350 were abducted. In the northwest, the crisis, the bandits terrorism is also raging on. Bandits are continuing to launch attacks on rural communities, in particular in Katsina, in Zamfara, in Kebbi, in Sokoto State. The Lakurawa also continue to launch attacks in Sokoto and in Kebbi State. In the north central, as you said, we are seeing escalation in violence in Plateau State and Benue State now, but also in parts of Niger State, in Nasarawa State, where we know that there are Boko Haram cells, including ISWAP, and also in Kwara. Recently, there have been reports of attacks, especially in the border region between Kwara and Niger State. There is a troubling escalation, and Sheun, it appears to be that Nigeria has become a very fertile ground for terrorism, for criminality, and for violence, and with every passing week, we only see more and more troubles. The Boko Haram crisis was weakening, but now is resurging. Bandit terrorism is continuing. You have the secessionist crisis in the southeast, and then now you have Benue, you have Lakurawa, it's overwhelming. But to be honest, in spite of all of this, self-defense is the wrong place to start. It is the wrong call.
Why do you think it's wrong? If a retired general says it is time for us to now start defending ourselves, don't you think that he has enough field experience and knowledge and gallantry to be able to see what is right, especially because he's also a son of the soil of areas that have been embattled by these insurgents?
I respect you, Danjuma, and as you said, he is a retired military general, but he is not someone who keeps public order, and we are talking about public security and public order here. As a military general, most of his duties had to do with defending Nigeria's external borders or external crisis, but we are talking about a breakdown of law and order here. And Shewan, remember that the Abdusalami Abubakar Commission revealed a few years ago that there were around 7 million illegal light weapons and ammunition in Nigeria. And now, if you have a call for self-defense by a military general, what that means is that there will be more arms in the hands of ordinary Nigerians. More people will buy weapons, they will buy arms, and more people will start to kill people without justice. And that is what has been happening in places like Plateau State, for example, over the past 20 or so years. What we saw was continued attacks by one community against another, and then counter-attack by the other, and then counter-attack by the other, and it continues for years. If you say, defend yourself, and people buy weapons, how are they going to be able to pin down who they suspect, and how are they going to make sure that that person is actually the suspect, and also give him all the doubts and defenses in law before they mete out justice? What they will do is just to go out on the street, accost anyone they see, kill him without justice, and that person's family and community life will see that and also pick up arms and kill the...
So Mr. Bukati, let's be up straight and clear in this conversation. I've had a series of conversations over the span of my career on security in this country, and sometimes it does sound to me like I'm asking the same question over the different governments that have run the affairs of this country, because it looks to me that the problem are just recurring, and it sounds like deja vu, because you'll be wondering, I discussed this about 16 years ago, 14 years ago, 13 years, 10 years ago, and they keep repeating themselves. But let's be straight with Nigerians tonight. Where are these people being for? Where is the funding of these guys coming from? Are these politically funded? Because people being killed, and where are these weapons? They say some of them are herders. They say some of them are this and that. Where do they have the capacity to buy this weaponry? And they are inflicting pain on innocent Nigerians every day. Can we just destroy with Nigerians? Let's know where the problems are. Who are those funding these terrorists?
You see, Shaun, as you are frustrated, I am also frustrated. I have been researching this issue for the past 15 years or so, and I am sick and tired of discussing one issue time and time and time again, and the government doesn't seem to be acting. There was a statement made by a bandit terrorist leader in Zamfara State. He was later killed. He said it is easier to buy weapon in Nigeria than to buy bread. In other words, he said it is more difficult for me to get bread in Zamfara State and buy it than to buy weapon. It is easier for me to buy a gun than to buy bread in Zamfara State. And what he said is true. Small and light arms and ammunitions are everywhere in Nigeria. Our borders are so porous. When you talk about funding, there are many sources of funding for these terrorists and criminal groups. But the major source of funding over the past 5-10 years is ransom payment. For example, we were talking about Boko Haram's escalating attacks in Borno right now, and there are reports indicating or suggesting that Boko Haram would have received around 1 billion naira in ransom since 2024. So in 1 year, they have collected over 1 billion naira in ransom payment only. And they have a sophisticated system of taxation where every herder, every farmer, every trader in Borno State, every fisherman, every fish dealer would have to pay them taxes before they can operate. And I can break down that to you, and they issue receipts. They issue receipts to people who pay taxes before.
Is it the present day Borno State? Because the decimation that we saw over the years of that set and the allied and associate set of the Boko Haram element and its structure, we thought that they have been highly decimated, that they don't have the capacity to be able to run. There was a time that they ran about 18 or so local government in this country, in the northeastern region of the country. Do they still have the capacity to hold structure and have the sort of administration of their own on Nigerian soil?
Definitely, Shaun. As we speak today, Boko Haram has courts, they have markets, they have places they control inside Nigeria. And I will mention local governments in Borno State. Go to local governments like Gamborungala, like Goza, like Dambua, like Abadam. These are local governments that, as we speak today, even the civil authorities in those local governments either operate inside the headquarters of the local government or inside Maiduguri, which is the Borno State capital. They cannot go to their own constituencies because Boko Haram is in control in those constituencies. For example, Gamborungala today is the headquarters local government is occupied by people, by civilians, but you cannot travel 2 kilometers outside the local government without meeting Boko Haram members. And when you go to the northwest, the major source of funding in the northwest is ransom payment. Billions of naira have been paid in ransom over the past 2-3 years in the northwest. And the more money these people gather, the more sophisticated they become, because they will buy more weapons, they will buy logistical equipment like cars, like motorcycles and others. And we know that in the north central, the same thing is happening. Ransoms are being paid, people are being dislodged from their own homes, and their property stolen by these armed groups, and these armed groups, Shaun, are operating across rural Nigeria with impunity. In many places, they operate without being confronted by anyone, and they operate for days in a lot of those places. And until and unless we tackle the source of the money, the source of the weapons, we are just joking. There is no way we can tackle these groups without first blocking their supply routes, blocking their financing sources, and making sure that none of them get money. Unfortunately, criminality, terrorism is now becoming normalized in Nigeria, is becoming an everyday thing, and we are ceding Nigeria's territory to many of these non-state armed operators in many parts of the country. When
we were having a pre-chat before this conversation, you're telling me now how sophisticated and how emboldening the audacity some of these terror cells are. In fact, some of them you say they have taken to social media using TikTok. What have you discovered?
Yes, Shaun, right now when you go on TikTok, you will see Boko Haram members' account. They are hosting live programs, live shows, where they propagate Boko Haram's ideology, they justify the group's violence, and they...
Did they do it in Hausa language?
In Hausa language, and they field questions from the audience, they answer comments that are written. Even this week, there was a Boko Haram member who posted a 10-minute video on TikTok attacking me for speaking up against the escalating violence of the group. But it's not just that, Shaun. We know that Boko Haram now operates unmanned drones. they surveil on military formations in the northeast with unmanned drones. And what we have seen over the past 3 months was over 7 Boko Haram attacks on super camps, on Nigerian military super camps. In Wulgo, they attacked Nigeria's military super camp. In Sabongari, at Izge, in Goneri, and lots of other places. And in each of these places, they overran the camps, they dispersed the military, they killed some of them, they captured some of them, and they stole weapons from those areas and food and medicine and other equipment and left into the bush. So they are operating with impunity in several local governments in Borno State as we speak today. In some of them, even the local government chairmen are operating either inside the headquarters only, or they are operating inside the Borno State capital, Maiduguri. And the same thing is happening in parts of northern Yobe. And of course, you know what is happening in the northwest in terms of Lakurawa attacks, in terms of bandit terrorist attacks. And now we are talking about Kwara State, we are talking about Plateau State. Of course, the crisis in Plateau and Benue are slightly different from the ones we are talking about here, and we can get into it if you like.
Now, when this government came into power, and you can see Anu Ribadu, the NSA, receiving those who have been captured or kidnapped by these terrorist groups, and we actually see that there was some kind of quiet. We were experiencing peace, and if you look at it, in the Jonathan government, in the Yar'Adua government, in the Buhari government, there is usually that initial peace. All of a sudden, violence will just escalate, and things will just getting so bizarre and so getting so crazy. And I'm wondering, this is how politics starts. Because politics starts and gets a crescendo, it gradually moves on. Because they study what happens, and at the end of the day, they understand their terrain and they act. That's how the usual way a politician will act. It does look to me that there seems to be a trend. Would you say there is some kind of politicking or a political motive? Because it looks like the security agencies had a strong hold of our security architecture in the past month. Look at the last 2-3 months. Things started escalating. What understanding do you have about the trend?
I mean, Sean, I completely agree with you that this issue always ebbs and flows. Sometimes you see a month of lull, a month of quiet, and then you see things escalating all of a sudden. But I would be very, very cautious to relate it directly with partisan politics, because that's what you see online. You see people peddling conspiracy theories. When Boko Haram started in the beginning, they said it was a project by the northern power brokers in order to hold power in the north or to destabilize a northern president. And then we saw Buhari coming into power, trying to weaken Boko Haram, but the bandit terrorist crisis started. And then we had different theories with people saying Buhari is not even Buhari himself. He was cloned. He is a body double and all that. And then we saw, the Tinubu administration coming into power. What I blame in all of these is showing lack of political will, because over all of these crises, what we have seen is emergency measures that are always short-term and they are always reactive. Government will deploy military or will declare a state of emergency where there are big attacks with leading to public outrage. They will try to calm down the situation at that particular moment, but no one will look at addressing the root causes. No one will look at investigating and bringing perpetrators to justice. No one will look at rebuilding communities and rebuilding peace and reconciliation and healing the communities where those crises started. No one will look at, okay, who is responsible in the security architecture so that they may be brought to book. No one will look at, okay, how did these things get into our country? Because we don't produce weapons in Nigeria. We don't produce the drugs these guys are taking before they launch attacks. But no one in the medium and long term is looking at the root causes and factors that are leading to this.
So this is it. You heard your governor, Governor Zulum, who clearly stated at the meeting and said, look, there seems to be some redeployment of the weaponry that were being used to fight insurgency in Borno State to other areas because the military is just they're overstretched. And you look at what this government promised. It says that there will be more boots on the ground. There are those who say, yes, we need more boots. There are those who say we need to be more sophisticated. Sophistication in this kind of warfare is a lot of money. And now you're talking about the sophistry of these elements. Now there are unmanned drones that are being flown to even spy on our military formations. And the fact that they are so audacious now, they've taken to TikTok. It's so interesting how they've turned. Where do we go from here? If you're talking to the government as someone who has done a lot of research, not only in Nigeria, but sub-Saharan Africa, and some of these problems are very similar and they have the same tendency, they are from the same fabric. How do we then start to resolving and fixing these insecurity issues once and for all, if possible?
Yeah, Shaun, even before the Borno State governor said what he said regarding the redeployment of military hardware from the northeast to the northwest, I received reports from Damatru, from Potiskum, and other places in Yobe State where they said they saw dozens of military hardware every week being moved from the northeast westward. And of course, they never return. And what that shows you is that the government has now made Boko Haram no longer a priority, and now they are making the bandit terrorists a priority. But it shouldn't be an either or. All of them are terrorists, whether in the northwest or in the northeast or in the north central, or the violence we are seeing in the southeast or or other places in Nigeria. What you need to do is a security architecture that can fight all of them at the same time, because that is our challenge as a country today. And part of why we are unable to do this as a country today is because the money voted for security, especially for hardware expenditure in the last administration, was stolen. This was an admission made by the National Security Advisor at the time, General Monguno, who said billions of naira voted into security by the Buhari administration had gone missing. Under the President Jonathan administration, we know the $2 billion that went missing around election time, which was meant for security. And no one has been investigated in either of these crises and brought to justice. I know that there are some prosecution going on with the $2.2 billion crisis, the Dasuki Gate, but no one has been brought to justice until today. Under the Buhari administration, no one has been brought to justice. And I can tell you, and I told you this in the past, Sheun, if we gave the bandits in the northwestern part of Nigeria or Boko Haram, if you give them one budget, 1 year's budget, Nigeria's budget, they will damage the whole of Nigeria. They will overrun the whole of Nigeria because they are using their own money. We are stealing our money. Our money is being stolen in the security procurement sector, and no one is investigating that and bringing perpetrators to justice.
All right.
So the way to start is, number one, to make sure that the money that is being budgeted is spent, and is spent wisely. And so it is not just about allocation. Number one, you allocate. Number two, you make sure that the allocation is disbursed in the right way at the right time. Number three, you have to follow the money. Do proper oversight, whether by the National Assembly or by the Ministry of Justice or by the presidency itself, to make sure that the money is being spent correctly.
Yeah.
Number two, when we talk about these issues, Shaun, we are not giving the importance it deserves to our borders. Unless and until we get our border security right, we are not going to get out of this crisis. And when we talk about security, we talk about the military, but we don't talk about the customs and immigration officers at Nigeria's borders, who are under-resourced, many of whom are corrupt, and who do not have the equipment and the knowledge to secure our borders. You and I spoke about the 1,400-kilometer borders between Nigeria and Niger, where many of these weapons are coming through. And until and unless we properly police our borders, this is not going to go away. Of course, we need to invest in education, in the economy, in other sectors of the country, but this has to be medium term. The immediate term, the immediate goal should be stepping up our security, and we cannot do that without money and without following the money to make sure it is spent correctly.
Bulama Bukati is a lot.
You see, I hate these kind of questions. When this question is being asked often again and again, that who are the sponsors of these different groups we now have in Nigeria? Who are the sponsors? The sponsors, names of the sponsors has been listed, has been revealed, has been submitted to then President Buhari. Their names has been given to him from Dubai. So nobody should come and tell me that they don't know what is happening or they don't know the sponsors of these people. This is political, right? And the sponsors are in government, and that is a problem. The sponsors and those people find the sponsors, they are in government. They are in government. Hannah Jatu, that woman, mentioned names before. Mentioned names with evidence. Nobody go after the woman if she was lying against them. Nobody. Even Femi Falana mentioned names of the sponsors of these Boko Haram, different groups. Femi Falana. Nobody go after him. Nothing happened. Nobody accused him. With evidence. Who are the sponsors? List from Dubai. They don't know the sponsors. The governor of which Zamfara state, this governor now, what's his name? That the former governor is not the minister of defense, right? Yes. So he also said that his predecessor have questions to answer, that his name has been mentioned. He's among those sponsoring these people. That if he was the one, he shouldn't have taken that appointment from Tinubu. He should go, first of all, go and clear his name from the mess he created, that his name is on the group of those people sponsoring. So they don't know them. Many names. You want me to start mentioning names to count? Because the names those people has mentioned so far, I still know some of them here. You want me to mention them? So who are the sponsors? They know these people. It just been political. Everything now, they politicize everything. They are using human beings to play politics. Playing politics with human lives. Just because of, is it because of religions or what? This different group, they said, is not communal. It's not communal. It's genocide, right? Okay, oh, they don't know the sponsors. I said something before. Okay, of recent, I listened to one soldier. He said, I think I have the video. He said that these people, politicians, the government, they know what they are doing. That it's just been politics. They are playing politics with human lives. That they are ready to fight. They are ready to go inside the bush to fight. But the army, the Ogas are even telling them not to go after those people. Army with uniform. He said it. He said the leaders, the bush, they are even telling them, they will come on the national TV to say that they are fighting, they are working, they deploy a lot of people to those places to go and fight them to go. But the army off the camera, they are doing opposite of what they said on the national TV. Right? The army said they are even ready to go. He said how many people are in the bush that they cannot fish them out. He said they asked them not to go after them. Secondly, the weapons, they don't have weapons to go after those people. They don't give them weapons. This is what they requested for. How many of those people, once they have this, they will go inside the bush and destroy everything in that bush? Because it's politics. The Ogas in different security agencies, the Ogas, they know what is happening. They know what is happening. Yes, they know. It's unfortunate that today we are still talking about this. Where is Nuhu Ribadu, who say they will surprise or they will shock critics? Now you are shocking us with these people buying every day. You say you will shock critics up. You don't know, it was just the beginning at that time. I'm waiting for you. The only thing you will use to shut the critics up is to stop the insecurity, stop this killing that is happening across Nigeria. If you cannot do that, so you are only shocking us by the insecurity improving, taking over communities. Different communities has been taken over. Now, Benue State governors cried out that federal government should intervene. He's fed up. He's tired. Federal government should come to his rescue. Plateau State, Abizanfara, the same thing. Now, Enugu State too. Peter Umba, I don't know what he's doing. See, the problem, water don't pass, Gary. We are living in fear now, especially those community where after buying the numbers of people, they pursue those people away from their community, from their farmland. They will not hang their flags there. They are creating country inside. They are creating another country inside our own country called Nigeria. And they say the leaders that they are not aware. They don't know what is happening. No, they know. You cannot fight this different terrorist group. You cannot fight them without bringing those people to book, the Ogas, the leaders, the financier of these groups, the sponsors of this group. They are in government. How do you fight it? And mind you, if you are talking of fighting insecurity in Nigeria, this administration of APC is zero. They can't do nothing. They can't fight it. Remember how these different groups comes to Nigeria. APC National Secretary, former National Secretary, said, if you go now, you can still see, he revealed, what is his name? APC former National Secretary, I forgot his name. He said how they imported a Fulani militia to Nigeria to help them win election against Jonathan 2015. They said it. Former governor of Kaduna said it. So who are these people? Buhari have a lot of questions to answer. Buhari have what it takes to stop these different groups, but he's not saying anything. Buhari, you have what it takes to solve this problem. With them, they not. They can solve this problem because they create this problem. Now the problem they created from that region is affecting everyone. It's affecting all the regions. It's affecting all the regions. Now different groups now see it as different other regions now see it. Okay, these people are doing this. They are getting away with it. Nothing is happening to them. They are using it to steal, to do this, to do that. I think some region now are joining the Fulanis, joining the Heshmen. They are taking over our land. People are not living in fear. Like I always say, you cannot arrest these Fulanis and leave the sponsors. If you arrest the sponsors, you break the wings of the sponsors. It will surely affect those people who they just sent an errand. Those are just errand boys, right? But if you arrest those errand boys, even if you like put them into jail 100 years, the organs are still there. They will still go and recruit more. I have been saying this. Do you understand? So if you break if you stop these people, you break their bones where the money is coming from, block it. They don't have access to this thing. They don't have access to money again. They can't finance the different groups. Once those different groups, hunger beats them, nothing is coming into them again. They will repent. They will find other things to do. So here, as I'm telling you now, we are not ready. This country is not ready to fight insecurity because we are going nowhere. Like this, under Tinubu's APC government, we are going nowhere. You can only play God, spread your life. God keep you alive to witness another administration that will come and say, okay, we want to solve it. Because under APC is a 0/100. They cannot fight insecurity. Insecurity can only increase. So may God help us. Try everything possible to protect yourself. Please share this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel.